Hiya. Welcome to my Compound Life. I'm your host, Jonathan. This is a channel where we build assets, we build habits, and of course we build freedom, and that should hopefully be financial freedom for all of us, you, me, everyone that watches this channel. Apology, I've got this cold. That's why the very, very red nose that you can see. But it doesn't put me off from creating my daily video for all of you guys, right? So this will be a daily Bitcoin video, and if you haven't already done so, please hit the like, hit subscribe. Let me check my subscriber counts, because to my amazement, I'm actually on 19 subscriber count, right? I know, not a lot, but I truly appreciate all of you guys. Subscribe to my channel, really appreciate that. If you can become my 20th to my 25th subscribers, I really appreciate that, okay? So remember to also hit the like, hit subscribe, drop me a comment and let me know who you are, right? So I might need tissue every now and then. Yeah, so from the time of recording, it is now 4:30 in the afternoon. In the UK, in the West Midlands, I usually try to do morning Bitcoin video, but I think this time around, I just don't feel too well. And at the same time, today is going to be a very, very short video because I'm expecting guests to come over for dinner tonight. So I have to be in my best of situation, in my best of appearance too, right? So I probably need to get myself medicated quite soon. And at the same time, dress nicely, be nice to people, be funny to people, be a pleasant person generally. Okay, so that's what I'll be doing after I created this video. Okay, so today's Bitcoin news. Fear and greed index. We are currently at 26. So in comparison to yesterday, it was actually a drop from 29 to 26. But overall, looking at the price action, right now for Bitcoin, we are at 90,000, right? Not a huge difference compared to yesterday. We are simply just retracing between 90, 91,000 for now, right? But of course, compared to last week, we are not as fearful because last week we were on average around 21, so we're now 26. So it does show retail investors like yourself, myself, we are getting we are moving along and getting less bearish overall, maybe. Okay, so let's quickly take a look at the Bitcoin ETF data. So for yesterday, the 12th of December, we're at $49.1 million inflow. That's very, very good, right? So recap, on Thursday, we're at outflow of approximately 78 million. For this week, the biggest one was actually on Wednesday and Tuesday actually. So Wednesday we had an Bitcoin inflow of 223 million. Tuesday inflow of 151 million. And of course Monday was an outflow of 60 million. Okay, so overall we have more inflow versus outflow, and in comparison to last week, I think it was actually a lot more better performance. Okay, so let me just quickly glance through, right? So in total this week, business close Friday, in terms of Bitcoin ETF, we have a total net inflow of $286 million. Okay. In comparison to last week, it was actually net outflow, so negative 88 million. Okay, so the week before, we're actually on a net inflow of positive inflow 70 million. Okay, so as you can see, we are getting slightly baby bull-ish, right? So baby bullish, right? So just a recap, how different it is before the whole liquidation event on the 10th of October, right? So the 2 weeks coming up to the 10th of October, the net inflow was around 2.7 to about 3.2 billion on a weekly basis inflow, right? So yesterday, well, for this specific week, for this week, right, for total inflow, we're around 286 million. So we are seeing some baby bull-ish situation, but we are still far from when we're at our all-time high of 126k Bitcoin. Okay, so let's quickly look through Ethereum ETF. Ethereum ETF, as of yesterday, it was bearish, outflow of 19 million. Okay, so Ethereum on Thursday was also bearish, outflow of 42 million. Yeah, but overall for Ethereum, you know, it was bearish, it was bullish for Wednesday with 57 million. Tuesday was bullish with 177 million. Monday was also bullish with 35 million. So overall for Ethereum this week, it's also more inflow versus outflow. So that's very, very positive. It's really indicating that retail might be coming back, right? So maybe they see that, you know, Bitcoin has bottomed. There are so many catalysts, news out there, right? Potentially pointing that 2026 there could be potential, you know, uplift again, right? So that's why investors are trickling to come back, right? And in terms of Solana, Sol ETF, yesterday, the 12th of December, was bullish, 2.5 mil. So for Sol, the whole week was bullish, 2.5 mil. Thursday was 11 million inflow. Wednesday was 4.9 million inflow. Tuesday was 16.6 million inflow, and Monday was 1.2 million inflow. Of course, the inflow, the liquidity is never as big as Bitcoin and ETH. However, it does indicate that, you know, perhaps more users are getting more risk on, you know, as indicated in inflows and outflows for Solana, Ethereum, as well as Bitcoin for ETF, right? Okay, so that's kind of giving you some sentiment of what's going on in the market in general. Okay, so some bullishness coming back, maybe. Okay, so just as a recap, without us getting back into our 50 days moving average, to be honest, every slight bullishness, baby bull, like tiny little baby bull, right? To me, it's just a dead cat bounce, right? So if we cannot clinch on to 100,000 per Bitcoin in USD, I wouldn't immediately flip bullish anytime soon. Okay, so that's what you guys need to feel too, right? So don't let the hype, don't let Tom Lee tell you that Bitcoin will be getting into 200,000 anytime soon, right? Don't let the fake news, well, it's not fake news, don't let the hypes of quantitative easing coming back where I think in Fed's term, they're using some alternate terminology recently, right? So it's not really coming back until we can see the price action flipping, right? So it needs to flip back into that bullish situation, the 50 days moving average, and that will be around 102, 105K, right? So bear that in mind, please bear that in mind. So in terms of Bitcoin price action, we are essentially hovering around 90K. So we're not going anywhere. We kind of range bound between 90 to 93K, to be honest. At any time we slightly increase over 93K, there's so much more sell pressure coming in, right? So it does seem we do have a lot more people selling at around 94K, right? And of course, so for that, I think one thing might be worthwhile to call out, because I think yesterday afternoon there was a huge Bitcoin price drop from, I think, around 92,000, and then it was kind of like such a huge dump of 89,000. So 92, the high of 92 dumped to about 89. Okay, so one thing to call out, right, because this actually applies the macro, right? So it's not just on Bitcoin, it's not just exchanges or market makers, or institutions doing their manipulation. I think it's generally because of some bearish macro news that came out. So hence Bitcoin slips by about 2%. Okay, so as tech and AI earnings that came out, I think it was Oracle or something that came out, and it was pretty bearish, and so that's why it affected literally everyone, right? So I think it affected S&P 500, NASDAQ, everyone, right? So a lot of risk assets, got affected because of that. Okay, so it's not just a Bitcoin issue. A few important news worthwhile for me to mention. Looking at on-chain analysis, Bitcoin long positioning and derivatives activities are rising. Okay, so to me that kind of signals that perhaps retail or traders are seeing that, Bitcoin, we already bottomed, right? Despite the fact that, recent Fed announcement that, there will be rate cut. So immediately after the rate cut, Bitcoin dropped, right? So even yesterday after the Oracle announcement, the AI tech earning announcement, Bitcoin dropped too, right? However, with all of this drop, I think to a certain extent, traders were feeling slightly bullish in a way that they felt that this is the bottom now, right? This has to be the bottom, okay? So how much in terms of long positioning and derivatives? I think approximately 93 million, close to $1 billion, right? So about 93 million in Bitcoin long position, along with elevated options, open interest, and rising withdrawal from exchanges like Binance near key price points, right? Signal that traders are positioning for movement ahead, right? So that's all good, right? So really indicates that traders are still actively, positioning in options and futures, and they're kind of expecting some directional kickoff soon, right? So for now, I think with this in mind, it's still neutral positioning for all. However, we're just gonna have to wait another few more weeks to see. Historically, Bitcoin does perform in the middle of December, right? So I'm not trying to try to hype things up here, right? Because to me, I'm still more bearish in terms of feeling that it's over the 4-year cycle. Most of the OGs, most of the traders, most of the Bitcoin whales have already left, right? They're not going to come in with all of their liquidity, all of their gain for minimal uplift, right? So I think everyone are essentially just waiting. It's a waiting game. And if we can slightly flip bullish, reclaim 50 days moving average, then we may have a chance for a dead cat bounce, right? So that's the situation, okay? And of course, strategy, MicroStrategy, the company that Michael Saylor runs, they managed to retain NASDAQ 100 listing, okay? So Bitcoin heavy firm, Strategy, one of the world's largest corporate holders of Bitcoin, remains in the NASDAQ 100 after the annual reconstitution, okay? So this comes amid ongoing debate over whether crypto treasury firms should be excluded from major indexes. I think it was mainly MSCI that kickstarted this whole thing, right? So it's definitely good news that Strategy remain in NASDAQ. So maybe less of the heavy selling in the coming few months, right? So it does seem institutions are positioning, they're onboarding more retail clients, more private banking are offering Bitcoin as well as crypto products for their wealthy investors, right? So we might just see a slight improvement or getting beyond 100K Bitcoin maybe by next year, right? So that's a maybe, okay? So I'm not saying that it's a guaranteed. And of course, I like this. Robert Kiyosaki reiterates Bitcoin advocacy amid banking concerns. So author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I have so much respect for that guy, by the way. Okay, he calls out global banks and champion Bitcoin, and of course, gold and silver and Ethereum too, right? As alternative to the current financial system. So I think, what? Do you guys even care? Because I do, right? So to me, it's kind of like a continued endorsement from high-profile financial commentators, right? So we might just be onboarding more boomers after all, right? Because more boomers, they're gonna, that have wealth under certain private banks. And then in the US, it's becoming much more prevalent for TradFi, for traditional banks to offer this kind of products for their wealthy investors, right? So having someone like Robert Kiyosaki to endorse it, I think it's always good, right? I think other things to call out, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, ticker symbol IBIT, only I think a couple of hours ago just hit their death cross, right? So FYI, I think Bitcoin also hit our death cross about a few weeks ago, right? And usually so death cross is when 50 days moving average move downwards and crosses to go under the 200 days moving average, right? So it's a lagging indicator, no doubt, right? But it usually signals, it can go both ways, right? So certain traders would think that, yes, it's bearish, so that's why they'll be selling off. But in certain situations, maybe I should reiterate this, in the bullish cycle, in the bullish phase, when death cross meet, it's always a good chance to buy in, to buy more, right? Because usually it takes about 8 weeks, 10 weeks for death cross to flip and do a golden cross again, right? And that will essentially be the time where you kind of bought the low, right? However, this time around, I think with Bitcoin in a more bearish situation, I'm even thinking maybe it's not even time to buy in on the Bitcoin ETF too. So if you're in the UK and then you're considering about Bitcoin ETP, ETN, or whatever, right? Be mindful, because I think if we are in a bearish situation, if we are going through the Bitcoin bear market, now will probably not be the best time to buy in, because essentially, you'll be catching a falling knife, right? So I somehow felt for me to accumulate Bitcoin will probably sometime next year. Okay, so this is for you to know that the death cross had just crossed for BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, IBIT. Of course, there are more bullish news, such as US SEC just publishes crypto asset custody basic for retail investors. That's very, very, very bullish, right? It's not going to have immediate price implication on Bitcoin, but what I'm seeing here, right, is essentially Bitcoin has become an asset that will one day be so overpriced that ordinary people like me and you will probably not able to afford it anymore, right? Because the boomers, the people, the family office, people in private banks, they will start to acquire more of it, and in an even shorter period of time. And one day, it'll essentially be out of reach for many of us, right? So finally, boomers, your dad, your granddad, will have a good understanding of Bitcoin, right? And asset custody of Bitcoin. So take into consideration of that, right? So the fact that you're watching my video essentially means you know something about Bitcoin, right? And you're not far, you're not too late. Well, of course, you're not too early either, right? So continue to stack. But of course, I've got in my few other videos, I've mentioned about the timing, the rhythm of stacking Bitcoin is also important too, because the timing of it would give you more gain versus if you just do daily pound cost average or daily dollar cost average, right? So have that in mind. Too. And of course, someone like Tom Lee is still very bullish on Bitcoin. He is still calling Bitcoin 200,000 in somewhere like the next 50 days, right? So even, I think there was some IQ guy, like world highest IQ Korean bloke, that's also calling out Bitcoin, it's flipping bullish. I just don't really pay too much attention on this. I think these are just noise, right? So pay more attention on the 50 days moving average, right? So that would give us a very clear indication of when to stack more for our hodl bag or when to get the hell out for our swing Bitcoin bag. Okay, so bear that in mind. And last but not least, SEC just released a letter educating, I've covered that, about custody of Bitcoin and crypto. So yeah, I think that's all good. So that's it for today. I think not too much great news that I can bring for all of you guys, but I'm excited. I'm super excited because I'm on my 19th subscriber counts. I'll be really grateful if you can just hit the like. Please hit the like. Just hit the like. Even if you don't like my content or don't like me, just hit the like if you like Bitcoin. Right? If you love Bitcoin, just hit the like. Hit the like if you like Bitcoin. And hit subscribe. Let me know who you are. And then I'll give you a call out in my video. Look, how many people give you a call out in their video, right? I'll actually do so. So Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.